If you are waiting for memory loss to tell you that something is wrong, you are waiting too long. Here is the painful medical truth. By the time you or a loved one starts forgetting names or losing keys, the disease has likely been ravaging the brain for over a decade. The reality is that memory loss is often the last symptom to show up, not the first. The real early warning signs, the ones that give you a fighting chance to intervene, are much subtler. They hide in your walk, your wallet, and even your nose. Most seniors dismiss these red flags as just getting older. They ignore the stumble on the stairs or the trouble counting change. But neurologists now know these are specific biological signals that the brain is struggling. That is why you are here today. We are going to walk through the 6 specific science-backed signs of early dementia that have nothing to do with memory. These are the signs doctors wish you knew sooner. By the end of this video, you won't just be worried. You will be armed with the knowledge to spot these symptoms early when lifestyle changes can still make a massive difference. Before we get to the first sign, if you believe in being proactive about your health rather than reactive, consider subscribing. We are building a community here dedicated to the health tips that actually matter. And do me a favor, drop a quick comment below. Where are you watching from today? I would love to see who is joining us. Now let's get into the first sign. And honestly, this one might surprise you because it has absolutely nothing to do with your brain's ability to think and everything to do with your nose. We are talking about the sudden inability to identify common smells. You might notice that your morning coffee doesn't smell as rich as it used to, or perhaps you can't quite smell the gas from the stove, or the scent of a lemon isn't as sharp. We often dismiss this as allergies or just a sinus issue, but biologically, your sense of smell is hardwired directly into the parts of the brain responsible for memory and emotion, the hippocampus and the internal cortex. These are the ground zero areas for Alzheimer's disease. When those neural pathways begin to erode, the sense of smell is often the very first thing to malfunction long before you forget a name or get lost driving. The science on this is incredibly robust and frankly a bit startling. A pivotal study conducted by researchers at the University of Chicago, specifically led by Dr. followed nearly 3,000 older adults. They found that those who could not identify at least 4 out of 5 common scents were more than twice as likely to develop dementia within 5 years compared to those with a normal sense of smell. In fact, the correlation was so strong that the researchers suggested smell testing could be a cheap, non-invasive early warning system. Imagine your olfactory nerve, the nerve that carries smell from your nose to your brain, as a canary in a coal mine. It is thin, fragile, and very susceptible to the toxic proteins that cause dementia. When the canary stops singing, or in this case, when the peanut butter stops smelling like peanut butter, it is a signal that the air in the mind is changing. So what is the actionable takeaway here? I want you to train your nose. It sounds silly, but next time you are cooking or eating, take a moment to really focus on the scent. Try the peanut butter test. If you notice a significant, consistent drop in your ability to smell familiar items, don't panic, but do bring it up with your doctor. Ask for a smell identification test. It is a simple piece of data that can give you a massive head start. Moving on to our second sign, we need to talk about your eyes, but not in the way you might think. This isn't about needing stronger reading glasses or developing cataracts. This is about visual spatial processing, how your brain interprets what your eyes are seeing. Have you ever found yourself reaching for a glass of water and missing the cup? Or perhaps you are walking down a familiar hallway and you suddenly feel unsure of where the floor ends and the wall begins. Maybe you have stopped driving at night, not because of glare, but because you can't quite judge how fast the other cars are moving or exactly how far away the exit ramp is. This happens because the disease process can affect the back of the brain, the occipital and parietal lobes, where visual information is processed. Your eyes are seeing the image perfectly fine, but your brain is struggling to assemble the puzzle pieces. It is like having a high-definition camera hooked up to a computer with a slow processor. The image is there, but the interpretation is lagging. We have compelling data to back this up. A study published in the journal JAMA found that thinning of the retinal nerve fiber layer was significantly associated with cognitive decline. Furthermore, research from the University of California, San Francisco, regarding a specific type of dementia called postural cortical atrophy shows that visual difficulties often precede memory loss by years. These patients often go to the eye doctor repeatedly for new prescriptions, not realizing the problem isn't in their lens, but in their neural networks. Think of it like this. Your brain is a GPS system. If the satellite signal, your vision is clear, but the software processing the map, your brain is glitching, you are still going to miss your turn. If you notice you are tripping more often, scuffing your feet because you misjudged the height of a curb, or having trouble parking your car in a straight line, pay attention. The actionable advice here is to distinguish between blurry and confusing. If you can see the object clearly, but can't determine its relationship to other objects in space, that is a neurological cue. Don't just go to an optometrist. See an ophthalmologist and mention these specific spatial issues. Ask them to look at the health of your retina as a window into your brain. If you are finding this helpful so far, taking a second to hit that like button really helps us get this information to other seniors who might be worrying in silence. It is a small click for you, but it makes a big difference for us. Now let's shift gears to the third sign, which manifests in your wallet. This is one of the most practical and devastating signs: sudden financial difficulty or a loss of executive function regarding money. I'm not talking about complaining the prices are too high. We are all doing that. I am talking about missing bill payments. You have paid faithfully for 40 years, struggling to calculate a tip at a restaurant or making impulsive, uncharacteristic purchases. Maybe you look at a bank statement and the numbers just don't click the way they used to, or you find yourself susceptible to scams that you previously would have spotted a mile away. Managing finances is a complex cognitive task. It requires memory, calculation, judgment, and attention to detail. It is a heavy lift for the frontal lobe, the CEO of your brain. When that CEO starts to call in sick, the complex tasks are the first to slide. A very sobering study from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, combined with researchers from Georgetown University, looked at credit scores and payment history for thousands of people. They discovered that financial fumbles like missed payments often started occurring up to 6 years before a clinical diagnosis of dementia was made. 6 years. That means your bank account might know you have dementia before your doctor does. This is frightening because it threatens your independence and your security. Imagine your financial judgment is a gatekeeper protecting your hard-earned savings. If that gatekeeper falls asleep, the gate is left wide open. So what do? We automate and we communicate. The actionable takeaway is to simplify your financial life immediately. Automate your bills so you don't have to rely on memory. But more importantly, bring a trusted family member or a professional into the loop. It is not about giving up control. It is about having a co-pilot. If you find yourself confused by a utility bill or double paying a credit card, treat that as a medical symptom, not just a clerical error. Let's move to the fourth sign, which can be heartbreaking for family members to witness. It is a profound shift in mood, specifically appearing as apathy or social withdrawal. Now be careful here. This is not just feeling down or being depressed, although they can look similar. Depression usually involves sadness or negativity. Apathy is a lack of feeling, a lack of interest. You might used to be the person who organized the weekly poker game or the book club, and now you just can't be bothered. You are not sad about missing it, you just don't care. You might sit in your favorite chair for hours, not reading, not watching TV, just existing. This apathy stems from damage to the brain's motivation circuits and the frontal systems that drive initiative. It is a biological loss of get up and go. A study published in the Journal of Neurology, Neurosurgery, and Psychiatry analyzed over 2,000 people and found that apathy was a strong predictor of dementia, often appearing years before memory loss. In fact, for some types of dementia, like frontotemporal dementia, these personality changes are the primary symptom. The person isn't trying to be difficult or lazy. The spark plug in their engine that initiates action is failing to fire. Imagine your brain is an orchestra. Usually the conductor is waving the baton, being the violins and the drums to play. Apathy is what happens when the conductor walks off the stage. The instruments are there, the music sheets are there, but there is no one to start the song. The actionable advice here is crucial. Force the engagement. If you feel that urge to cancel plans, fight it. Use it or lose it. Applies to social skills too. If you notice this in a partner, that they have stopped doing the hobbies they loved, don't accuse them of being lazy. Recognize it as a potential symptom. Gently encourage participation, but understand that their starter motor might be broken and they need a push to get going. Next up is number 5, and this one happens in conversation. It is more than just forgetting a word. It is a breakdown in language fluency. often called circumlocution. This is when you can't find the word for watch, so you say the thing on your wrist that tells time, or you can't remember the word for toaster, so you call it the bread heater. You might also find yourself losing the thread of a story halfway through, or using generic words like that thing stuff, or excessively, because the specific nouns are locked away. Language is housed in the temporal lobe, usually on the left side of the brain. When this area is compromised, the library of words remains, but the librarian who retrieves them goes missing. You know the word is there, you can feel its shape, but you cannot grab it. A study from the Wisconsin Registry for Alzheimer's Prevention tracked verbal fluency in hundreds of middle-aged adults. They found that subtle declines in the ability to retrieve words quickly were detectable nearly a decade before mild cognitive impairment was diagnosed. The tip of the tongue phenomenon becomes a daily, hourly struggle. Think of your vocabulary as a well-organized filing cabinet. In a healthy brain, you can pull the file for hippopotamus instantly. In the early stages of dementia, the labels on the files have fallen off. You have to open 10 drawers just to find what you are looking for. The takeaway here is to practice retrieval. What they when you can't find a word, don't just give up and say the thing. Stop, breathe, describe it, use synonyms. Reading aloud is also a fantastic exercise because it forces your brain to process language visually and verbally simultaneously. If you notice your vocabulary is shrinking, or if you are using filler words constantly, take note. Finally, we arrive at sign number 6, which brings us down to your feet. We are talking about changes in gait, specifically a slower walking speed or a change in how you walk. You might think walking is purely physical, a matter of muscles and joints, but walking is actually a complex cognitive task. Your brain has to balance, judge the surface, coordinate muscle movements, and navigate obstacles all in real time. When the brain's processing speed slows down due to early neurodegeneration, one of the first things to suffer is the speed and fluidity of your walk. Doctors call this motoric cognitive risk. It is the phenomenon where a person walks significantly slower than their peers, even without underlying physical issues like arthritis. A landmark study from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine followed older adults for years and found that those with a specific pattern of slow walking were significantly more likely to develop dementia. They even coined a phrase for it: slow walker, slow thinker. It suggests that the brain resources needed to walk are being hijacked or are insufficient. Here's a vivid image for you. Imagine your brain has a limited amount of bandwidth, like an internet connection. If the dementia process is downloading a massive file in the background, there is less bandwidth available for the walking app. So the video buffers, you walk slower, you shuffle, or you stop walking entirely when you need to talk. That is a major red flag. If you are walking with a friend and you have to stop moving in order to tell a story, that is called stops walking while talking, and it is a clinically significant sign of cognitive load. The actionable takeaway: walk with purpose. Monitor your speed. If you feel like you are shuffling, or if you feel unsteady when multitasking, don't just buy better shoes. Talk to a neurologist. Exercise that involves complex movement like dancing or Tai Chi is incredibly powerful here because it forces the brain and body to sync up. We have covered a lot of ground today. We have looked at the nose, the eyes, the wallet, the mood, the tongue, and the feet. It is a lot to take in. And I know that for some of you, this list might feel heavy. You might be mentally checking boxes and feeling a rising tide of worry. But let's pause for a second and take a deep breath. The summary of what we have discussed is this: dementia is not just about memory, it is a whole body shift. The 6 signs are loss of smell, visual-spatial confusion, financial errors, apathy and withdrawal, word-finding difficulties, and changes in gait or walking speed. Knowing these gives you the upper hand. Why? Because knowledge is the antidote to fear. When you don't know what is happening, you are a victim. When you do know, you are a fighter. Detecting these signs early means you can start interventions that can preserve your quality of life. You are not helpless in this narrative. You are the protagonist. If you have noticed one or two of these things in yourself or a loved one, it does not mean your life is over. It means it is time to get a checkup. It means it is time to prioritize your brain health with the same intensity that you prioritize your heart health. I want to ask you one final question to leave you with today. Which of these 6 signs surprised you the most? Was it the smell, the money? Let me know in the comments below. I read them and I learned from them. And please, if you found value in this conversation, like this video and subscribe to the channel because your health is worth fighting for. and we are going to fight for it together. Remember, you are more than a diagnosis, and you are stronger than you think.